here's one stat you need to know that will explain everything about how chaotic, frantic, and frankly exciting Day 1 of Indianapolis 500 qualifying was here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We broke a record, not a speed record, though I thought that might fall today, but we ran 84 qualifying runs during the nearly 7 hours that the track was open from 11 a.m. to 5:50 p.m. With still, I think, 15 minutes to go, we had hit the record of 74 and still saw 10 more. Lots of breakdown from those 84 runs, and I'm your motorsports insider, Nathan Brown from the Indianapolis Star, here to explain everything and tell you what's on tap for tomorrow here on Sunday in today's edition of Pit Pass Live. To start things off, we had a little bit of change at the top. McLaren finished 1-2 in a qualifying day that they held the top of for pretty much the whole day. Alexander Rossi went out early. I believe he was 8th on the group of first round runs and threw up a lap well in the 2:33s. I believe it was 2:33.5, and that stood for quite some time until his teammate Felix Rosenqvist came in the final hour and threw down a lap that was, frankly, blew Rossi's out of the water. 233.947 miles an hour over his 4 laps. 2 of those laps in the 2:34s. Felix's 4-lap average was the 3rd fastest in Indianapolis 500 qualifying history. Just 0.1 miles an hour behind Scott Dixon's pole run from a year ago, 234.046. We'll see what speed those McLaren cars have in store tomorrow. Pato O'Ward only made 1 run. Alexander Rossi only made 1 run. Felix Rosenqvist only saw that speed when he turned down that 4-lap run over that last hour. Said that afterwards he was really just kind of wanting to see and feel out where things were for his car tomorrow. He said after his first run earlier in the day that they might do that. Pato said that they might do that as well, really just to learn more about their cars, where they stood. We do have a practice session tomorrow, but that will be the conditions that Felix ran in this afternoon will be very similar, at least in terms of time of day, to when guys going for the pole will be running tomorrow. So we'll see if they learn some things, and if Pato, Rossi, and Tony Kanaan, all 4 McLaren drivers in that Fast 12, can take some things and see if they can possibly sweep the front row. Here we have now Felix Rosenqvist talking about his amazing run and what this day meant for his team, knocking Ganassi off the top spot.
The last couple of years, but today to have all the cars in the top 8 is just, in this competition, it's really hard. And we saw with Tony today, even if he's doing a perfect job, it's still, things that can, outside factors can play in and it can become really difficult in this field. So super proud of the whole team for just executing. And that last run we did was just phenomenal. Almost in a 234 average. That was, it was pretty mind-blowing where how we found so much speed. We weren't super happy on our first run, so we had, 2 or 3 reasons to think we were going to go quicker, and we kind of put them all together, and it was, wow, what a run. And Team Chevy as well, great job. Just a fun time to be in Air McLaren right now. We hope we can. Everything kind of resets for tomorrow, but we're definitely feeling good right now.
Now, Chip Ganassi Racing was by no means absent. You will see all 4 of their cars in Sunday's Fast 12 action as well, paced by 2021 Series champion Alex Palou, followed by Scott Dixon, who's in 5th, Takuma Sato in 7th, and last year's Indianapolis 500 winner Marcus Ericsson in 10th. But it was a day that we haven't been used to here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway these last couple years. We have seen since 2021 Chip Ganassi Racing sweep the poles, led by Scott Dixon. Last year, Scott was battling teammate Alex Palou for that pole, and it was his run at the final, the very end of that session, that took that pole from Palou himself. Back in 2020, Scott Dixon finished second to Marco Andretti. Last year, we saw Rinus VeeKay finished on top on the Saturday of qualifying weekend. So Aaron McLaren being on top does not necessarily mean that they're going to run roughshod over the field tomorrow. But it's the fact that Ganassi, didn't have that first or that second spot after they had fairly dominated the top of the timing charts through every single practice session that we'd seen this week, both in regular boost, race running, as well as Fast Friday boost that we saw on Friday. I wouldn't say it was surprising. I think we all knew that Aaron McLaren and Chevy had brought some more to the table, but it was still, I would say, Ganassi's race until someone proved them otherwise, and at least for a day today, we saw that we have a pretty formidable foe for Ganassi to face going for that pole tomorrow. Running through the field, as I mentioned, we had a pretty strong day for Chevy. 8 Chevys make up that Fast 12 that will run tomorrow. The only Honda cars running for pole are those 4 Ganassi cars that I mentioned earlier. Other Chevys include Team Penske's Will Power, Ed Carpenter Racing's Rinus VeeKay, and both AJ Foyt Racing cars run by Santino Ferrucci and Benjamin Peterson. They were really the Cinderella story of the day. This is the IndyCar team that somewhat regularly either finishes last in races or over a whole season is at the back or very near the back in terms of points. We've seen that years upon years in recent IndyCar history. They've had some decent runs over these past couple of years when you think of guys like Tony Kanaan, drivers like J.R. Hildebrand, but they're not guys that you think of that would be contending for a potential pole tomorrow. Now, that again, will take something truly special to knock off the McLarens and the Ganassis. But when we think of runs that Hildebrand and Kanaan have made in recent years for Foyt, we think of guys that qualify somewhere 15th to 20th, maybe even as far back as 25th or so, and survive the carnage of the 200 laps and pick their way through the field, whether they get a top 10, or near top 10, top 12, something like that. That has typically been a very, very strong 500 for AJ Foyt Racing. Now, I know we're talking about pole. We still have to see how these cars do in race running this week in practice on Monday and Friday, as well as next Sunday's race, but a banner day for AJ Foyt Racing and a season that has been pretty tough for folks on that team off of the track. Another Chevy storyline that I would say was maybe a bit surprise from what we knew 24 hours ago. Callum Ilott and Juncos Hollinger Racing are safely in the 107th running of the Indianapolis 500 field, just 24 hours after they completely replaced Callum Ilott's chassis. They moved, if you watched yesterday's episode of Pit Pass Live, you'll know that they switched Ilott's chassis over to his teammate Agustin Canapino's chassis that he used in April's Indy 500 test. A chassis where Canapino had put together some fairly solid times but hadn't been used since then, as Canapino had been in a 500 purpose-built car over this last week. Canapino had been running fairly well, been middle of the field or so, but Ilott struggled in the test, also struggled during the week to find balance, to find speed, to find comfort. Went as far to say on late Thursday and early Friday morning that he didn't feel safe running in this car, certainly not safe running at the speeds and at the levels that he knew was going to take to qualify for this race. So at around 4 o'clock yesterday, engineers in the Juncos Hollinger Racing garage ran and grabbed that chassis that they had in the transporter of Canapino's and began swapping everything over. They'd swapped just about everything off and on of Ilott's chassis during the week, trying to figure out what was going wrong, why he was so slow. He'd struggled to run faster than 212 miles an hour in the test early on in Wednesday's practice. He was struggling to hit 216. Finally, by the end of the day, was hitting 223, reached 224 on Thursday, but then didn't improve over his first couple laps in an initial run. And then by the early parts of Fast Friday, realized he was not competitive, not comfortable. So they go through They appeared in Saturday morning's practice. They made an initial run where Callum averaged under 228 miles an hour, which was, I believe at the time, a mile an hour, maybe even a mile and a half, 1.5 miles an hour, slower than the second slowest car that had run at that point. Had a lot to go, but he told us in our bullpen after that run that he felt comfortable in this car. At least he felt like there was some balance issues to work out, but there was speed left to be unlocked, and he felt like he could do that. And clearly we saw that he was able to do that. He will start this race next Sunday from 28th. Here is Callum Ilott talking more about his team's recovery and come from behind performance on Saturday to make next weekend's race.
Tough week, a tough month actually from the open test, and we changed chassis actually the middle of yesterday, and I was kind of given an almost impossible task from what some people said, and just tried to keep the confidence high. The first run wasn't great, and I don't think my engineers would even look at the video because they were scared to watch it. And we just managed to turn the car around into something that was fast and managed to just scrape 4 laps out of it.
Joined on that final row that is secure, who can rest easy, who can take tomorrow off in terms of hopping in the car. They can watch tomorrow from the timing stands or from the grandstands or from home maybe even. RC Enerson with Able Motorsports will start next weekend's Indy 500 29th after safely making their way in. They did not even have a car ready to participate in last month's open test and missed a little bit of practice time getting things ready. They, I don't think, would have been able to entirely compete in Tuesday's practice had we not been rained out, but they get RC safely into the 500 for the first time. He, of course, missed out 2 years ago when he was with Top Gun Racing with this same car. This is Able Motorsports' IndyCar debut. They have an Indy Next team, but were able to put together a group of fairly experienced IndyCar veterans from around the paddock to prep, massage, and ready a car for Enerson, and he will make his first IndyCar start since 2021 on the IMS Road Course, and first 500 start. Great day for them as well. In the 30th spot, the last driver to qualify for today's field, last driver who won't be in tomorrow's last chance qualifier run, is Catherine Legge. Who's also waited a long time to return to the 500 field. She last ran this race, I believe, around a decade ago. Has been waiting ever since for another opportunity, and she was finally able to have that chance with some pushing from Honda, support from Hendrickson, and of course Ray Hall Letterman Lanigan Racing that gave her the number 44 Honda car to use this month. She's back in the race. Of course, it was at the expense, for now, of her teammates Christian Lundgaard, Graham Rahal, and Jack Harvey. Those are 3 of the 4 drivers that will participate in Sunday's last chance qualifier action from 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock. Now, how this works, they, along with Stingray Robb, I believe it's in the order that they finished during Saturday from qualifying. Whether it's that or a random draw, I'm not entirely sure, because I do know that those times were essentially erased when they fell out of the top 30. So we'll see exactly how that works. But all 4 of those drivers will get to make an initial attempt, run through, and then we'll see where those times, those 4-lap averages, pan out, and then they will get more opportunities. If you are not in the race, you can try to bump your way back into the field. If you're a driver who is worried that, say you're in that 33 spot and you're worried that your time's not going to hold, or you're worried that the folks in the 34 spot are going to get back on track, maybe you want to go back out, put your car on the track, and just try to use up some time, and also hope, of course, that you're going to turn a 4-lap average that's going to qualify for the race. You can do that as well. So we'll see an hour of that if conditions are pretty solid. You very well may see multiple runs by all these teams, but I'm sure we'll see at minimum of 5 runs. Whoever doesn't make it the first time around, unless we see a crash, will certainly go again, even if they don't have their engines cooled down quite enough. We'll see at least one more attempt to see if they can bump their way into field. After that, tomorrow, 5:15, we see those 12 drivers and that top 12 that I mentioned again. It will already be whittled down to 6 in what we call the Fast 12, that's running from 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock in reverse order of their 4-lap averages today. Those drivers will go through, make one run each, and we'll see what the top 6 times are. And then those 6 will run again, as I mentioned, Sunday afternoon, early evening, 5:15 to 5:45. Same thing, reverse order from that early Sunday afternoon session. And the top time there will start next Sunday's Indy 500 on pole, and that will order the field. So if you finished 13th through 30th today, you're locked in. As I mentioned, day off, no practice, obviously no qualifying. We'll see how that goes. One more driver I want to give a shout out to, Tony Kanaan, 48-year-old 2013 Indy 500 winner, was positioned 14th on the grid today after he made his initial run. Was trying really just to make his way into the Fast 12, or at least see what was left in his car, what more was out there. He goes and puts his car in 5th, eventually falls back to 6th, but an incredible run from Tony, a guy who knows this place very well and who is also making his last Indy 500 start next Sunday. We'll get one more shot at least to see Tony make a qualifying run around here, and I'm sure if you're going to be here on Sunday afternoon at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, that's something that you're going to be remembered. No matter what Tony does, that crowd, each time he crosses the yard of bricks, is certainly going to be screaming for their adopted hometown hero. Here's Tony talking about his great Saturday on the track.
Today a little bit more conservative, and we just kept digging. I need to thank definitely my teammates for it. I mean, they were all in, and they kept supporting me and asking me, you got to do it again, you got to do it again. And then we finally, on the last run, we nailed it. Great team effort. It was nice. I mean, it was unexpected, especially, I don't think I've never done that many qualify attempts in this place. And I guess because it's my last one, they kept sending me out, so it paid off.
One final factoid before we call it quits today in this evening's edition of Pit Pass Live. I want to point out just how incredibly close some of these top cars in tomorrow's Fast 12 finished today, and the type of battle that we might see tomorrow. Now, as I mentioned, Felix Rosenqvist was the class of the field today, finished with a 4-lap average of 2:33.9. Alex Rossi also really solid in that one run that he made, I think before noon on Saturday afternoon, 2:33.5. But listen to these times that I list off next to you, these 4-lap averages, these speeds. 2:33.398, 2:33.395, 2:33.375, 2:33.347, 2:33.322, 2:33.252, and 2:33.147. Those are the 3rd to 9th fastest times that we saw on the Indianapolis Motor Speedway today, over 4 laps. That Fast 12, though it doesn't have everything on the line, I think is going to be very exciting tomorrow. I think, certainly we might see, be fairly excited, or fairly surprised, I guess I would say, if we see those 2 AJ Foyt racing cars of Santino Ferrucci and Benjamin Pedersen make it and move on to the Fast 6. But honestly, outside that group, it's anyone's race. You've got guys like Marcus Ericsson, who finished 10th. You've got Will Power, who finished 12th, who we think, and we've been hearing about how much improvement Team Penske has made this offseason. Well, they're going to have to put it to the test tomorrow if they want to get Power into that Fast 6 and past 6 other drivers to secure that late afternoon run. That's all we got. Thank you for watching this edition of Pit Pass Live. I hope you'll go to IndyStar.com, check out all the several stories that we'll have today, our great photo gallery that our photographers have been putting together, factoids, information that you need to know to get ready for tomorrow's great day of action at the track. It starts at 11:30 for practice. We have 2 hours of practice. 11:30 to 12:30 are for the Fast 12, and then 12:30 to 1:30 are for those in that last chance qualifier. Qualifying then begins from 2 to 3 with our Fast 12 runs, 4 to 5 for that last chance qualifying group, and then 5:15 to 5:45 for that top 6 that will be going for pole. That chunk of time at the very end from 4 to 6, for those of you who won't be at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, will be on NBC. So tune in and watch a great day of racing here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the last high-pressure day before we get to next Sunday's race. I'm Nathan Brown, your motorsports insider with the Indianapolis Star. Thanks for watching today's edition of Pit Pass Live.